The year is 1999. I am young, broke, and stuck until one single decision changes everything. One telephone call forced me to act now or become someone else completely. What if I told you that your entire life could transform within seconds, not months, not years, seconds? There is a single moment that separates you from overthinker to doer. It's the moment of decision. Are you ready to decide? Let's dive in. Here's something I personally find radically life altering: the idea that everything in your life right now, your health, your wealth, your relationships, is all the result of two things and absolutely nothing else. Number one, decisions you have already made, or number two, decisions you are avoiding making. Today, we're going to talk about why the power of decision is the ultimate life changing force and exactly how to harness it to create the breakthrough, the freedom, the inner contentment you are looking for. Here's how a series of small decisions led me to one huge one that then changed everything for me, flipped my whole world. This is actually taking me way back. Over on the weekend, I saw a friend that I hadn't seen in about 25 years. Actually, she's the sister of a good friend of mine. And if you hear this one day, hey girl. But we were just talking and she asked me, when is it that I moved? And so I got thinking about this whole decision. The story begins right after graduation. I had gotten my college degree. The program was called Building Systems Engineering Technology. It is a non-traditional program for women. In fact, in the entire class, we are only two ladies. And of course, we had no choice to just become besties. But as a woman of color in a field dominated by men, and despite my qualifications and even completing a nice co op at a maximum security prison, that maybe one day I'll have to tell you that story, working with AutoCAD, this is aging me right now, and maintenance systems, I find myself in a desperate situation. I applied to over 30 jobs in related fields: HVAC, working with architects and in construction companies. I get zero love, but your girl has some bills to pay. I start applying everywhere, but I can't even get hired at Staples or even at McDonald's. On top of that, my family is struggling financially and I really want to help them. So the pressure is really mounting by the day. Now, before we continue, let's look at principle number one: clarity before speed. Let's explore our first principle: the power of decision making. So, most people just jump into decisions without really getting what's at stake. They're all about what's happening right now instead of thinking about how it'll play out down the road. Whenever I've got a big decision to make, I grab a pen and paper and I jot down exactly what my options are. Do you ever make a pros and cons list? Well, they're simply the best. Putting everything on paper clears out the mental clutter and overwhelming feelings, so then you can look at your decision with a clearer head. In my situation, back to the story, I was about to face a decision that would require some next level clarity. But I was young, and frankly, I don't remember making a list back then, but you'll understand why as I go along. So, recap: I'm broke, can't find a job, but someday a high school friend of mine who was living in a different part of the country tells me that they're desperately looking for bilingual people where she lives, someone who speaks both French and English. And if you didn't know, French is my mother tongue. And now that you know, you will hear the accent. While my English is back then, anyway, nowhere near acceptable, I can defend myself. So, one tiny decision, I guess the first one really, that I made was to, without even thinking or weighing my pros and cons or my options, I just gave her my resume. But woo, that was the beginning of the rest of my life, I guess. So that company ends up almost immediately calling me back for an interview. But of course, the call is at the worst possible time. It's right before I'm about to leave for my very first adult vacation. 3 weeks in Florida with my sister and 2 other girlfriends. My very first time traveling without my family. The interview goes well. So it's an interview over the phone. They tell me that, well, we'll need to call you back because we're going to have a second interview. And so when they ask me where I can be reached, I have to explain that I'll be in Florida for 3 weeks. And I figure out what telephone number to give them. We arrived. The vacation is fantabulous. So far, we're having fun. But then, bam, a couple of days later, I get another phone call. But the phone call is kind of awkward because it's at my friend's uncle's house. Again, remember, it's 1999. Now, if you're not old enough, you might not be able to picture this, but a phone on the wall with a long cord or a cordless phone. That looks like a cell phone, but not quite. I'm not even in my own home. And I get a call, kind of awkward. The host is like, I'm Lydie. Who's Lydie? And so anyway, I take the phone, I get into some random bedroom, close the door, and proceed with the interview. It goes well. They're asking me when I can start. Because if I'm interested in the job, I would need to start immediately when I return. In fact, when I return is going to be a little bit late. I'm going to have missed a whole week of training. And so I have to decide right there and then, what do you think I do? Well, I'm not going to make you wait. I say yes. Let's just say my stomach instantly ties itself into a knot. This job is 8 hours away from my hometown by car. 8 hours from my tight-knit family of 6, 2 brothers, my sisters, my parents. 8 hours from everything and everyone I've ever known. I say yes, but then think, what have I done? All right, let's pause and talk about the science of decision. See, when you're uncertain or hesitating about a decision, your amygdala, which is your brain's alarm system, stays activated. You remain in a state of stress and anxiety. But when you fully commit to a decision, activity will then shift to your prefrontal cortex, which is the planning and execution center. You then get clarity. That clarity replaces confusion. Action replaces anxiety. So this is not just positive thinking. This is actually neuroscience. There's a doctor by the name of Antonio Damasio. He was a renowned neuroscientist. He studied people with damage to the part of the brain where emotions are generated. And he noticed that these people seemed normal, except for one peculiar trait. They couldn't make decisions logically. So small decisions, for example, what to eat and why. The reason is because those decisions require both logic and emotion. So when you make a heart and head aligned decision, then watch out, world. That's when you become basically unstoppable. And so back to that life-altering telephone call. All right, I'm sitting in that dark bedroom. My brain is on fire. I'm stressed. But before I even open the door to give the phone back and get back to my vacation, I make another crucial decision. I decide not to tell anyone about this offer. Not my friends, not my sister who's with me on the trip, and definitely decision not to call my parents back home. because I know exactly what is going to happen. My entire vacation is going to be ruined. Everyone would be trying to talk me out of taking this job that's so far away. My sister would probably spend the whole 3 weeks sad and trying to convince me to find another solution. It was clear to me. I couldn't tell anybody. So I push the big decision I have just made to the back of my mind because I cannot allow this to derail my vacation. I am young. We need to go party. It's Miami and Miami Beach and Florida. And if you've been, you know. So as we continue to have the time of our lives, let's pause. Let's talk about principle number 2. Decide fast, iterate faster. Our second principle is about avoiding the trap that paralyzes most people. Analysis paralysis, decision gridlock, aka overthinking. The longer you sit there stewing over a decision, the more your brain's fear switch gets stuck on high. Overthink too much, and you'll end up talking yourself out of doing anything bold or exciting. Here's the thing, just get moving and clarity will follow. You can always tweak your path once you're rolling, but a parked car, yeah, is not going anywhere. So, to break free from that overthinking spiral, here's a little trick. We call it the 24-hour rule. If the decision is not a life or death call, I would then just give myself one day to decide. If after the 24 hours I'm still stuck, then you can just lean into the bolder option and just go for it. There's no point in staying stuck. All right. So fast forward, vacation is over. We've had so much fun. Time to go back home and face the music. I still have not told one soul. Board the plane. I'm not telling anybody. I'm sitting on a plane. We're still talking about the good times we've had, and nobody knows. We land back home from Florida on a very cold winter Friday evening in December. Your girl, Lydie Jean, first child of 4, 19 years old, young, inexperienced, but bold, I guess, has accepted this job that is miles away and no one knows yet. All right, remember how I was broke? Well, the trip swallowed every single last penny of my savings. So it's even worse now. My brain is on overdrive. I can't stop thinking, like, how am I going to do this? My family picks us up from the airport. My mom has prepared a wonderful dinner. And just imagine, we're 6. It's buzzing. Everybody's happy. Jokes are and stories are flying around the dinner table. But literally, I still remember every time I open my mouth to share a story or say something, I have a knot in my stomach because I know what's waiting. And my brain is just thinking, and it's like I'm floating over myself. I don't know what to do. Don't know how to tell them and when to tell them. It's Friday night. Monday is when I have to start the job. How am I going to get to the job? I do have a car. That's another story for another time. That car was way too old, couldn't handle the snowy winter. And I've never driven so far away by myself. What else? I'm going a new place in the world. People speak English and I'm French. Job, insurance, and investment. I don't know anything. This all feels like mission impossible. We got through Friday night. I go to bed exhausted and still very confused. 5 a.m. Saturday morning, can't sleep, eyes wide open. Wake up and start packing my room, visualizing what do I take. And this is me without having a plan as to how to get to the destination. I haven't told anybody yet. This is crazy. I'm organizing what's coming, what stays, what gets thrown out, decisions and more decisions. Let's pause and talk about principle number 3. Focus over variety. One of the biggest decision traps is trying to keep too many options open. We think having backup plans makes us safe, but it actually weakens our primary commitment. When you truly decide, you cut off alternatives. The word decide actually comes from Latin and it means to cut off. You literally cut off other possibilities. This singular focus allows you to pour all of your energy into succeeding in your new reality rather than diluting your efforts across multiple possible futures. So here's a simple move. Take a look at your weekly schedule and give it a quick audit. Maybe by tonight you can ditch or put on hold one or two things that feels like not for you. Let's just cut that off. Be ruthless, like pruning a tree so the good stuff can really grow strong. Back to the story. So while deciding what comes or stays, very quietly, obviously in my room, my mother knocks on my door around 6 or so. She says, "Are you already up? What are you doing?" "Oh, just unpacking and cleaning up." "Not really." "Come, come," she says. "Nobody else is awake. Let me make you your favorite breakfast." So I follow her reluctantly to the kitchen, but I can barely breathe. Forget it. Can't eat. You think I'm going to eat? I am so nervous. She offers many options. She wants to make me my favorite food that she knows that I love. And I'm not really reacting because I'm ready to puke. "Something's wrong with you." "What's wrong?" And that's when I tell her. I explain that I've been offered a job 8 hours away. I tell her that I've accepted the job. I also explain that I'm doing this to help the family, that I plan to send part of my salary back home every single month. What happens next is something like a movie or something I'll never forget. My mother gets up, runs to the only bathroom that is in our house because it's a little bungalow, locks herself in, and starts sobbing like somebody has died. She is a Caribbean woman. When people pass away back home, it's a show. I don't know if you've seen that before. It's like people throwing themselves over the corpses. And I'm not laughing. Obviously, it's very sad. So sobbing is not quite the word, but she's crying so loud that obviously every single person in the family wakes up. My father, who's very reactive and was actually in the basement, he was reading or doing some work, runs upstairs and bangs on the bathroom door. And all my mom can say is Lydie is moving between sobs. My father then storms into my room because obviously I had to go hide somewhere. I'm back in my bedroom. "What did you do to your mother?" Because he's puzzled, like he can't understand, and tells me, "Whatever you said, it's not happening. You're not moving. You're not going anywhere." Okay, this is the real gut check moment when it comes to making decisions. It's like the world's piling on pressure. Your own doubts are screaming in your head, and you've got to pick. Keep pushing ahead or pull back. This is the moment where I could just fold. Before we continue, let's talk about principle number 4. Know the real target. Vague decisions create vague results. Make more money, for example, is not specific enough for your brain to execute on, or lose weight. Not specific enough. You must have a super clear goal, something specific that gives every step you take a point, even when things get really tough. Every rough day should feel like it matters because it's tied to that goal. Here's a trick. Write your biggest goal in one simple sentence, something that a 10-year-old could get. No fancy words, just plain and clear. Back to the story. All right. My mom eventually calms down. My dad returns to her side, and it's time to explain that this for them. that is just temporary, that in 6 months to a year, I can come back home and everything will be back to normal. My dad eventually understands, but my mom is still pretty devastated. She calls my friend's mother and she is asking like a million questions like, how's the city? Is it safe? I've never been there. Have you been there? I can't believe this is happening. She's still crying. My brothers, my sister, you suck. You just came back. Can't you just start your job in a week or two? Like, gotta leave right now. And I still have no idea how I'm even going to get there. I am contemplating just maybe not moving. Maybe this is too complicated. It's too hard. While everyone is having breakfast, I cannot eat. So I take my keys, my old car, and I drive to the corner store. Because again, 1999, no cell phones. So I need a few quarters, which I get, and need to use a payphone. I call my favorite cousin to tell her that I'm back from Florida. But mostly, I want to tell her and announce that I'm moving. She starts crying. No, don't. What am I going to do without you? Like, I haven't even seen you in 3 weeks. At this point, I'm standing in a phone booth, freezing cold, no clear path forward. Everyone I love is against this decision. Nobody's really supporting me or trying to find a solution to help me. This is what a real decision looks like. It's not calculating every possible outcome. It's not even waiting until all conditions are perfect. It's saying, I've decided and immediately taking action, even when the path forward is not clear. This takes us to principle number 5. Embrace the temporary dip. Almost every meaningful upgrade feels worse before it feels better. That's normal. But if you hang in there, that dopamine shoots up way higher than before once you hit that payoff. So that uneasy feeling, it's not a red flag. It's proof that you're growing, like a sign that you're on the right track. Call out that dip when it hits. Literally tell yourself, this sucky feeling, it's just my brain remodeling for better. And that's it. Move on. All right. Back to the story. What happens next defies all odds. That friend who gave my resume to that insurance company that offered me the job, well, somehow, I guess her mom called her. I don't know what happened. She MacGyvers something where her own sister is now willing to drive me the entire 8 hours to my new life. I am in complete disbelief. Some people would call that a miracle. I don't know. Can you believe that? Somebody would sacrifice themselves 16-hour round trip just to help me pursue my decision. But hey, it's done. It's done. I'm living in a new place. I always question myself. Did I make a right choice? Like I miss everybody. This is really hard. And this is another dip, the one we just talked about. That period after a major decision where everything feels uncertain, more uncomfortable than staying in your comfort zone would have been. Most people interpret this dip as evidence that they've made a wrong choice, but it's actually a necessary part of growth. And this thought takes us to principle number 6. Train your decision muscle. Just like any skill, decisiveness gets stronger with practice. Start with smaller decisions to build your confidence. You want to start that YouTube? Well, maybe start a TikTok account and speak for 20 seconds. What I've discovered through my own journey is that once you make one big, scary decision, the next one becomes easier. And the one after that, easier still. You literally are strengthening the neural pathways that are associated with decision making in your brain. You're becoming someone who decides rather than someone who hesitates. So try this. Schedule one no turning back action this week or even today, and then do it. Is it that you need to go publish the price increase on something you're selling? Sign a new lease, hire a coach, make it irreversible, strengthen your commitment muscle. Let's finish up that story. I couldn't see when I was questioning, whether I took the right decision or not, how this single decision would transform everything. Really, by choosing to leave my comfort zone, I became truly independent. For the first time, I mastered English, eventually, years later. I still have an accent, but it helped me become fluent in my second language or third. Also was able to build meaningful friendships that expanded my world. I discovered my love for travel and realized that I had a nomad's heart. Most importantly, I discovered a strength within myself that I never knew existed. That 19-year-old who boldly packed her room at 5 a.m., who faced her family's tears and disapproval, who moved to a new city with no money and no plan, she discovered that she was capable of so much more than she had ever imagined. All because of one tiny decision and then multiple other ones. When you combine all these elements, clarity before action, deciding fast, focused commitment, clear targets, embracing the dip, and strengthening your decision muscle, something remarkable happens. You become someone who makes decisions instead of someone paralyzed by them. Your identity shifts, your confidence grows, your results multiply. And most importantly, you step into the driver's seat of your own life. Look, I've worked with people over the years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty the quality of your life comes down to the quality of your decisions. Not some of your decisions, all of them. The small daily choice and the massive life altering ones. The decision to wake up early or hit snooze, the decision to have that difficult conversation or to avoid it, the decision to invest in yourself or play it safe, the decision to follow your purpose or follow the crowd. Every single one shapes who you are. So here's my challenge to you today. Tell me, what's one decision you've been putting off that could change everything? Maybe it's starting that business, investing in yourself. Maybe it's moving to a new city, changing careers, leaving that person, finally pursuing that dream you've kept on the back burner. Whatever it is, decide now. And if you can't decide, tell me and I'll help you. But no, decide today, not tomorrow, not even when you're ready. Because here's the truth. The moment you make a real decision is the moment your life changes. Not when you achieve the goal, but the moment you decide. I believe in you. I believe you have greatness inside that's waiting to be unleashed. But only you can make the decision to let it out. As I like to say, your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Drop a comment below with this decision that you are going to make today. I read every comment and I'm here to support you. Until next time, remember, decision is power. Use it.